What's up, booktube? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Laura if you're new here, and today I'm wrapping up my October reading month. So October was not my best reading month ever. I have definitely had worse ones, but this one was like by far nowhere near the best one that I've had recently. It was my first time using Operation to pick my TBR for the month, so we'll see the results for that, which, spoiler alert, I did all the prompts. I did not read most of the books that I picked for that. So, oops. It's fine. It's fine. I've been in kind of a reading slump for the whole month. I'm not really sure why, because like it's fall, so like autumnal books are my favorites ever, so I don't know why I haven't been enjoying them or like wanting to pick them up. But I think what happened was I felt like I had to be reading seasonal books, and then like I wasn't in the mood for them, so I just didn't pick up anything instead. But I did read 7 books this month, which sounds like a lot, but 5 of them were novellas, so it's not actually that much. But that gave me a grand total of 1,976 pages for the month. For where I sourced these books, one of them I got from the library, one was from Scribd, one I borrowed, and 4 of them I owned. I read 1 ebook this month, 2 print books, and 5 audiobooks. 6 of these books were fantasy, 1 of them was nonfiction, and 1 of them was a mystery. For my audience breakdown, I read 1 middle grade, 2 adults, and 5 YA novels. For my star rating breakdown, I read 1 2-star, 2 3-stars, and 5 5-stars. Incredible. But with the stats done, let's get into the reviews. So the first book that I finished this month was Ghost Squad by Claribel A. Ortega. This one is a middle grade paranormal mystery kind of thing about a young girl who's able to see the spirits of her past family members, but something starts happening with them where they start fading and having like nightmares and all this weird stuff's going on. So she enlists the help of her best friend, who is adorable, to help her figure out what's going on, and it reveals a larger mystery happening in the town, and also involves I believe the grandmother of the friend, who's a witch, and a adorable cat who is definitely smarter than humans. It's wonderful. But I gave this book 3 stars. It was cute. I liked the premise of it, but honestly I was pretty bored throughout most of it. I didn't connect with any of the characters. The plot was okay, but like nothing really special. This book wasn't bad by any means. It just didn't stand out to me at all, really, which, you know, sad about, but what can you do? I love middle grade books, but I think this one was a little bit too young for me. I guess I read like not quite YA, but the older end of middle grade, you know, whereas this one was like really young. So yeah, it just didn't quite hit with me, and I think that's probably why. Next up was The 1 Minute Manager by Kenneth Blanchard. I did not have a choice but to read this book. I gave it 2 stars. For my job, I work as an assistant manager at a retail store, and every 2 weeks we do like a manager's conference call throughout the whole company, and they decided to do a like little book club for everybody, and I didn't have a choice but to read this. It's literally just a book about how to be a better manager, and it's like the most basic of basic information that's written in the weirdest way. They wrote this book as though it were like a conversation happening between a character and this manager who he's learning from, and then he like goes around the office and talks to other people who have been working with this manager for a long time, and they like talk about the style of managing. It was weird. It was really odd, like, and like all of the information is so obvious too. Like, I haven't been a manager for that long, but like if you are somebody who has had managers before, you can probably figure this stuff out on your own. Like there was nothing groundbreaking here. The format was just so weird and off-putting. It was really cheesy, so I did not enjoy this one at all. There were some good points in it, and I have definitely been using those points, but again, it was nothing that I didn't know before. I just didn't have the words to put to what I was doing previously. So, you know, it was fine, I guess. The information in this book wasn't bad. It was good information, but you know, you should already know this stuff, especially if you're already a manager. You know, so like I didn't enjoy it. I wouldn't have ever read it if I'd had the choice, but I did not, so here we are. Moving on from there, these next 4 books that I read, I did a little like 24-hour readathon on my birthday of rereading my favorite series ever, which is the Wayward Children series by Seanan McGuire. I actually own most of the series now. Indigo didn't have all 5 books, so I only have the 3 at the moment, but that's okay. But I will link the vlog that I did for this little readathon up on the screen and down below if you want to check that out. So I will start with the first book, Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. This one follows a girl named Nancy as she is just starting at the school for wayward children after returning from a world where she lived as a living statue. So Nancy is settling in, trying to figure out her place in this school, and then somebody starts murdering people. So they have to deal with that. And since Nancy is the new student, plus the world she came from is called the Halls of the Dead, so like, you know, this new kid shows up and she comes from a creepy world, they're gonna blame her, of course. So Nancy and a few people who she's become friends with start trying to figure out what's going on to take the blame off of Nancy. And that's kind of the plot of this one. It's really fun. I adore this book. It was fantastic. I give it 5 stars. Obviously, I love it. Next up was Down Among the Sticks and Bones. And this one follows Jack and Jill, who are 2 characters from the first book. This is their backstory. So it takes place in the moors, which is the world that Jack and Jill go to. And it's before they have to leave and go to the school. So it's their backstory and I love it so much. Jack is one of my favorite characters because she is just such an asshole and I love her for it. Like, she gives no fucks about hurting anyone's feelings. She just says what she means and what she wants, and if it hurts your feelings, that sucks, get over it. That's kind of Jack's perspective on life and I love that. She's just such a fun character. And Jill too, I also love her just because she is so, like, I don't even have the words, but she is just so down for being evil and I'm here for it. Like, it just makes me so happy. Neither of these characters are good people. One of them is definitely a villain, but Jack isn't a good person either. She's, you know, she's the apprentice of a mad scientist, whereas Jill is training to become the daughter of the vampire overlord. So, you know, neither of them are good. One of them's definitely worse though. But this one does have some OCD rep as well as a sapphic relationship, so that's always really nice. And I also gave this one 5 stars. So it was at this point during my readathon that script limited my audiobook listening, so I was not able to read the 3rd or 4th book on audiobook, so I just went right to book number 5, which is Come Tumbling Down. This one also follows Jack and Jill, plus a few other characters that we meet in books 1 and 3. I can't really talk about what the plot of this one is without spoiling the ending of the first book and part of the second. And also the 3rd. Basically, I can't say a single thing about this book without spoiling something, so I'm just gonna skip the synopsis and just go straight to the fact that I loved it. It was amazing. I also gave this one 5 stars, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. And then I also read In an Absent Dream, which is book 4, which is my absolute favorite in the series and probably my favorite book in the entire world. I absolutely adore this book. In this one, we follow a girl named Lundy. She's also a character from the first book. This is her backstory. So this takes place, I think, in the 60s or so, when I think she's around 7 when she finds her door for the first time. So Lundy is a total book nerd. She has no friends. She's not unhappy, but she's also not happy either. And one day she finds a door in a tree and she goes into it and it takes her to the Goblin Market. This is a place where there's no money. Everything runs on a bartering system and everything has to be fair value. And the market is kind of like a living thing, so it's able to tell when something has been given for fair value or not, and if it hasn't been, then you get punished by slowly turning into a bird. So in this one, it just follows Lundy as she goes throughout the years coming to and from the market. So this is just the story of Lundy growing up both in the market and in her home world as we wait for her to make her choice. As I mentioned, this is my favorite book. I love it so much. I love it so much. I say this all the time on my channel, but if I were to ever find my door, I have no doubt that it would take me here to the Goblin Market. This is just where I belong. There is nowhere else that I would rather be than living here and just get to be Lundy and live in this cozy little house with the archivist. I mean, it just sounds like heaven and I wish desperately that it was real, but what can you do? I'll just stay on Earth, I guess. But yeah, so 5 stars for this one as well. Next up, I read In the Hall with the Knife by Diana Peterfreund. Yeah, that person. I'm sorry. This one is a YA murder mystery based off of the board game Clue, which I have never played before, but it seems really fun. And the premise of the book seemed like it would be a good time, which it kind of was. It was interesting. This is set at a very elite, prestigious boarding school full of snotty rich kids who are all very smart. But just before the holiday break, when there are only a few students left on campus, there is a massive storm, major flooding, and all these students go to this one house that's relatively unaffected and stay there to like kind of keep safe. And they wake up in the morning and the headmaster, the dean, whatever he's called, the guy who runs the place, is dead in the conservatory with a knife in the chest. So obviously they're freaking out. At first they for some reason thought it was suicide. I don't know why, but that was a conversation. So they think that it could be suicide. They think that it may have been self-defense, or a robber came in and was trying to loot the place because, you know, it's a school full of rich kids that's unattended and currently, you know, all the windows are broken. So it makes sense. Looter is like a solid theory. Or they think that it might have been somebody in the house who killed him. And there are several people in the house who all have a motive. And then there's also a few characters who have like ideas from their personal lives. Like one character has a stalker who's been threatening her. Another one has a really weird brother who's odd, but anyway, that's a whole other issue. I wasn't a huge fan of this book. I gave it 3 stars. It was just kind of okay. It was very, very predictable. Like I think I had it figured out pretty much from the get-go. I don't know if it was meant to be obvious, if like it follows a certain plot line from the board game. I don't know. I haven't played it, but it was so obvious who it was the whole time. Like there was no surprises anywhere whatsoever. I also found that a lot of it was just really odd. It was something. I really was not a big fan of this book. I also kind of wish that I'd saved it for more of like a wintry vibe because it was during a snowstorm. I thought it was going to be more of like a fall kind of thing, but it was definitely more wintry. So that's my bad. But regardless, the plot of this one was just kind of okay. The writing was fine, but the plot was just kind of meh. So 3 stars for this one. And the last book that I read this month was A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. This is book 2 in the Shades of Magic series. Incredible. Amazing. Loved this one. The ending, like that last line, excuse me. Like, what? You can't just leave me like that. Like, if I hadn't already had my TBR picked out for November, I probably would have added the 3rd book to this like immediately because I need to know what's happening. So I'm thinking that I'm going to try and read the next book in December because like I need it. But anyways, premise of this one starts off 4 months after the events of the first book. Lila has become a crew member on the Night Spire and they travel the seas. She's learning different languages and learning how to make it not seem like she's from a different world because nobody can know that obviously. We meet her captain Alucard, who I adore. I love him. And after a few months at sea, Alucard and the Night Spire decide to go back to London to compete in the Essentosh, which is a global competition where people from all over the world come to the city where it's being hosted, and it's just like a magical tournament kind of thing. It is so cool. I love any kind of like tournament game type of book, like the Hunger Games, stuff like this, but this one also involves magic. And I'm so here for that. It was such a fun time. So we got to learn a lot more about the world outside of Red London and the different countries they have and the different kind of people. And we got a lot more world building. So I really loved this one. Overall, this one was fan-frickin-tastic. I think I liked it about equally as the first one, which is saying a lot because I loved the first one so much. But I just thoroughly enjoyed this book and I cannot wait to get to book 3. 5 stars for me. But those are all the books that I read for this month. Again, not the best reading month, but that's okay. I still read some fantastic things, and I'm so glad that I finally did a reread of my favorite series ever. I will definitely have to get to book number 3 very soon. That way I can have the whole series completely reread. I'm hoping to do that before the end of the year, or at least before book number 6 comes out, but regardless. But yeah, good books for the most part. A few misses, but that's okay. Nothing was like outright terrible at least, so that's good. Aside from the manager one. That one wasn't great, but like, anyways, I will wrap that up there. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're all having a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, and I will catch you all in the next video. Bye!